they should know about making cars. So it's not like saying, hey, they've got 3 years of, if they are not performing, it's fine. When you're an OEM, you need to perform. I mean, there is no mercy out there.
Hello everyone and welcome to a brand new video. But this isn't just any video because we're joined by a very special guest today. Through the power of technology, I'm delighted to say, by the one and only Gunther Steiner. Gunther, thank you very much for being with us. How are you?
I'm good, and thanks for having me. Yeah, all good here. I hope the same for you.
Yeah, all good here as well. But before we head into everything F1, of course, recently it was announced that you are part of a group that bought, and you are the CEO now, of KTM Tech 3 in MotoGP. I just wanted to ask you about that, how that came along and how long this has been in the pipeline for. How long have you had this idea of being a part that bought the team?
It's how it came along. I always loved motorbikes, never had the chance to work in it, and didn't go to a race for a long time, but I knew quite a few people, I know quite a few people there. And last year, after I left Haas I think it was in April last year, there was the race in Austin, the MotoGP race, and I went there with a friend of mine just to have a weekend out, because I always wanted to go. So went there, and obviously I knew that I like it. And then going away, I thought it would be actually pretty cool to get involved in a team there, because it's a sport which for me has got a huge potential to grow, And so coming back, I started last year in, I would say, April, May, to work on it. And I called Richard Coleman up, which I know since a while, and said, hey, what do you think? Because I've got these ideas, some strange ideas all the time, and I always want to check them with somebody if they're stupid or if they're just mad. There's a fine difference in it. And I said, no. Actually, first they were, I don't know if that's a good idea, but then, oh yeah, it's actually not a bad idea. And then I just started to inform myself what needs to be done, because all these sports, they're very, I wouldn't say complex, but they've got a long history. So you just cannot show up and say, hey, I want a team. I'm here now. Give me a team, So obviously I went around with that one and spoke with the people. I know Carmelo and Carlos Espeleta from before. I spoke with them, obviously, and then I was made clear to me that there will be no additional new license. And then it was the only way to try to buy a team, an existing team. And then I just went around and asked who was interested to sell. And this year in Austin, I met the first time with Hervé Poncheral, the still owner of Tech 3, and spoke with him. And in the beginning, he was like, oh, he listened, but then after a few months, he said, yeah, maybe I'm interested in to move on. And then we talked, we established a good relationship, and here we are. Now I'm co-owner of a MotoGP team. It sounds almost too easy, huh?
It's a great achievement for you, but also recently, of course, it was announced that Liberty Media are going to get involved in MotoGP as well as in F1. Of course, you were part of F1 before Liberty came in and when they came in as well. Do you think they'll have the same effect on MotoGP as they had in F1? And did that also kind of play a part why you got involved in MotoGP, or did you have no idea at the time that Liberty were interested in it?
No, at the time, I think there was talks, but that was not my real, because for me, with or without Liberty Media, MotoGP at the time had a very good potential. Obviously now with Liberty then joining, the potential has grown because Liberty has done it in F1. Will they achieve the same, or do they want to achieve the same as F1? I don't think they want to make it a F1 lookalike. Obviously, they learned a lot of lessons since they bought F1, how to make something bigger, but I'm pretty sure they want to keep MotoGP as MotoGP and not Moto F1, call it like this. So I think they are well aware of that. Since I took over the team with my investment company, not with my investment company, with my partner, the investment company Icon, I haven't had talks directly with Liberty, with the people. Obviously, I know most of them there for my time in F1, and I've got very good relationships with them. But I think Liberty now in the moment looks a little bit at MotoGP and sees what they want and what they need to do to grow the sport. So obviously it is. I think it is an added value for us, myself and Icon, that Liberty got involved. But that was not the trigger to do it.
That's very interesting with Liberty getting involved in MotoGP or Moto F1. Well, rather not, as you called it. But another new thing that's coming, of course, now in F1, if we can pivot to that, is Cadillac. A lot of comparisons are being made to Cadillac and Haas back in the day when they first joined almost 10 years ago now. But is there a comparison to be made there? I think that it was very different back then, also, of course, because there are different regulations now. Is there a comparison between Haas 10 years ago and Cadillac now? And what should be the number one priority for Cadillac, do you think?
I think you got that one right. It has changed, the sport has changed, and there are comparisons because a new team coming in, but the rest, I think it's very different when obviously Cadillac comes in at a complete different scale. You know, it's a big, one of the biggest car manufacturers, OEMs behind them. Haas was a small team, a private team, you know. There is, I think, a lot more pressure on Cadillac to perform because they're a car manufacturer. They should know what they're doing when they come to Formula One. While with Haas, the expectations from everyone were very low, to be honest, you know. But the sport has changed also, as you mentioned, the regulations. I think Cadillac is doing very similar things we did at the time, but I would say we invented this a business model to go with a big manufacturer like Ferrari. I mean, Cadillac is doing the same, but obviously the scope now, what you can do, it's a lot smaller than it was when we came in at the time because we invented that business model basically, you know. So, and behind us, they closed a lot of loopholes, which we exploited at the time. So, which is not illegal exploiting loopholes. They were there. It's all legal, you know. But things have changed there. So, I think for Cadillac, what I would say, it's different. There is pressure. There needs to be pressure. It's an OEM, you know. They should know about making cars. So it's not like saying, hey, they've got 3 years of, if they are not performing, it's fine. When you're an OEM, you need to perform. I mean, there is no mercy out there. I'm not really, because I don't really know their business model, so I wouldn't say what they should be doing. I think that would be wrong, giving advice to other people where I'm sitting what they should be doing, because I don't know what's actually happening, and maybe they're doing stuff I think they should be doing. But so I would leave it at there. But obviously, it's a very brave decision to go into F1, but also, you know, it comes with pressure as well.
Absolutely, it does. And you said something about there of GM knowing how to make cars and Cadillac knowing how to make cars. Well, McLaren certainly have done their homework in terms of building a car this year. Everyone's talking about what happened last time out at Monza between Oscar Piastri and Lando Norris, of course. But do you think the team now, their great car aside, do you think the team is maybe getting too involved in the Drivers' Championship, giving those team orders, and what kind of precedent does that set?
Personally, yes, I think so. And again, I'm not here to teach Andrea and Zach how to do it. I think when you overthink stuff, you end up with these situations. In the end, it's about racing, you know. And some situation you can just not predict. I'm sure in their, not I'm sure, I'm pretty sure in their protocol about fairness, there was not included a slow pit stop because it's like that's part of racing, the unexpected. And I think who deals with that best will be the champion. And if you try to do all that stuff or make it fair, you end up overthinking what is fair because was it fair that Lando lost his engine the race before? So should now Oscar lose an engine? That would be fair, huh? I mean, if you see it like that, that's how I see it. Sometimes racing takes over, and you've got situations where you just need to let it go. Hey, we didn't know that this would happen because for sure it was not Oscar's fault that the pit stop was slow. This can happen. A slow pit stop is possible, and also I don't think it is fair to say to Lando, your engine blew up, and you know now you're disadvantaged. So I think there is situations you just cannot predict, and you should leave them like, yeah, that's my opinion. Obviously, I'm not running their team. They are free to make their own decision. They don't need to ask me.
Well, they are certainly in the position to be able to do that, which is, of course, a massive luxury position. But at Monza as well, Max Verstappen did take the win with the biggest margin of any race this season. We know about Red Bull that they've got a very aero-efficient package this year. But is that a one-off then, do you think, in Monza, having followed F1 this year? Or maybe this weekend in Baku as well, do you think Red Bull can actually maybe challenge a little bit now?
I would say what happened in Monza, it's an outlier this year. I think in Baku, obviously because of the racetrack. I mean, there is a part of the racetrack very fast, as you well know. The rest is not so fast. But you always must put in the max factor. Max can do something special, which in the moment other drivers cannot do. They're all very good, but Max has got that magic, which he can pull off. So I think in qualifying, maybe we can expect a surprise, but in the race, I think we will be back that the McLarens should be at the front, but it is not a done deal yet, And as you said one thing right before, McLaren has got the luxury. They won both championships. I mean, in the end, they have nothing to lose. So there is also no pressure, so they shouldn't make mistakes. If they are second and third, so be it. It's fine. We won anyway, They don't need to take higher risk than or high risk like you would normally if you fight for something. So they've got that advantage to them.
No, absolutely. I fully agree with you. But Red Bull currently don't have that luxury position to be in compared to
But they've got
McLaren,
Max.
especially.
But they've got
Yeah,
Max.
well, they've got Max, absolutely, yeah. But the other seat currently, Yuki Tsunoda, a lot of reports right now that Tsunoda will probably be replaced next year by Isaac Hadjar. Automotor and Sport said this recently for a second time. Is Hadjar going to be sort of next in line in this murderer's row of Checo Perez in recent years, then Liam Lawson, then Yuki Tsunoda? Or does Hadjar have something extra, something special, do you think?
Very difficult to predict. I mean, I would agree that Yuki, which as a driver, I respect him a lot, but the second seat at Red Bull is just, a very difficult one to fill, as we learn. So I think, taking that seat when you are given the opportunity, you need to take it, because otherwise you will be. It can make you great, but it can make you fail. But at some stage, you need to come to call it the hallelujah, If you think like Yuki Tsunoda, he was 4 years at Racing Bulls, did a good job. Now he's coming. If I want to stay in Formula One, I cannot keep on going around in the midfield trying to take a point home. I want to know if I'm here to stay or not. That's why he took the seat. For Isaac Hadjar, I think it's because it's his first year in F1. He's doing a great job. For me, he's the biggest surprise. Him and Bortoleto, for me, they're the biggest surprises this year. And I think he has got enough confidence to say, hey, I want to know if this is for me or not. And for Red Bull, I mean, they ran out of options, huh? I mean, they tried everything, and that second seat is just unfortunate that whoever you put in, they fail, I don't think Hadjar, if he gets the seat, has an option to bail out, because who would bail out of a Red Bull seat? I wouldn't. I mean, you need to take the challenge, knowing that it's a risk. But that, again, you pull your socks up and you do the best you can.
Well, he probably will have to do that next year. But that leaves the Racing Bull seat on the other side. Reportedly, Arvid Lindblad is going to take one of them. The youngster just turned 18 last month. And the second seat then will be between Lawson and Tsunoda. It's a difficult one maybe, but if you had to pick, if you were in the shoes at Racing Bulls of Peter Bayer maybe, who out of those two would you pick?
Difficult. I mean, at the end, you would. I think the logic thing is to go with Liam Lawson, because again, Liam did a good job last year when he jumped into the car. Obviously his beginning of the season as Red Bull was not going the way they wanted, but I think sometimes he can take now the fight to Isaac Hadjar. With Yuki, Yuki. I mean, he was there for years. And Racing Bulls, Red Bull want to still keep it as a junior team to develop drivers. I mean, Yuki is now developed, in my opinion. After 4 years in the same team, you're developed. And obviously, his ties with Honda, they are over as well. We have to think about that one as well, because he was always tied in with Honda, and Honda is leaving Red Bull now. Maybe there is a role for Yuki, which I think, because he's a very good guy, he's also a good race car driver. Maybe he has a chance at Aston Martin as a reserve driver or something like this, because Honda support. But it's unfortunate that he's leaving, that he would be leaving Formula One. But, he was given the opportunity at Red Bull, and it didn't work out. As I said, it's a big risk taking that seat. You could be a hero or could be a zero,
Yeah, I mean, there is obviously the massive risk, and we know with Red Bull that they're pretty cutthroat. Last one before we let you go, Gunther. You've been very generous with your time. Just looking ahead of Baku, I heard you saying that McLaren should be back out in front, like we discussed earlier. But if I could just ask you for a prediction, do you think it is a relatively simple win then for McLaren with all those mid-speed corners in Baku? Or is there maybe a surprise in the cars like we've seen before at Baku?
99%, it's a McLaren show. Oscar and Lando. As I said, Max always in a qualifying lap, he can do magic, you know. Sometimes I just wonder how he does it, you know.
Yeah. No, I mean, I've wondered the same thing for a couple of times. So you think if I had to ask you for a podium prediction, would it be Piastri, Norris, Verstappen, if I gather by what you're saying?
Yes, absolutely, yeah.
In that very order. Well, Gunther, thank you very much for being with us. Thank you very much for being so generous with your time, and hopefully see you in the next one. And everyone at home, thank you so much for watching, and see you in the next video as well. Bye-bye.